Hi there everybody, today we are looking at something called unitary ratio. Well, unitary ratio is when something is in the form 1 to something else. Alright, so not just about a simplified version, literally 1 to something else. Alright, so that something else in this particular case can be a decimal because we are talking about 1 to something. Alright, so putting the ratio 1 to something, you must divide the ratio by the first number. Alright, so if you've got something 5 to 8, and then if I want to basically make it 1 to something, then you need to divide them both by 5. And that's obviously going to leave your second number as a decimal or a fraction. All right, tends to be a decimal. So write the following in the form 1 to n. So there you go, there's my example, 5 to 8. Well, I need to divide them both by 5. So divide them both by 5, so you've got 1 to 8 over 5, which is 1.6. Like I said, it tends to be as a decimal. All right. So what about 8 to 3? Well, same kind of process. I'm going to divide them both by 8, the first digit. So that's going to give me 1 to 3/8, which is essentially 1 to 0.375 as a decimal. All right. So it really kind of depends on what your first digit is as to what you divide it by. Okay. So in terms of this kind of context, the idea of obviously putting something 1 to something else is really you understanding if I try to find out what the price of 1 is, then I can find out the price of anything in terms of the volumes. So here we've got 10 buns is 120. All right. So if I figure out what basically 1 bun needs in terms of flour, then I can figure out how many I need for 24 because I divide it by 10, this divided by 10, and then times it by 24. All right. So that's kind of the purpose. So we put 10 to 120. We do the unitary ratio bit. So we say 1 to 12. So 1 bun needs 12 grams of flour. And then, of course, we need to times it by 24 to tell me how much, obviously, grams of flour I need, which is 288. All right, so 288 grams of flour for 24 buns. So that's kind of the purpose of the unitary ratio idea. You try and figure out what 1 costs or 1 is, and then, of course, you can see I've written it as a ratio, and then that's going to enable to kind of use that to figure out any other price or any other value that I'm after. All right. So thinking about the same kind of concepts over here, well, I've got 5 pence for £1.40 or 12 pence for £3.40. So what we're looking at trying to kind of do when we're talking about best value is we're trying to identify, well, what's the cost of 1 pen? All right, in both cases. Well, I can find the cost of 1 pen in both cases, then I can compare directly. All right, now it doesn't have to be 1 pen. That tends to be what you need to do. But really what we're after is trying to find a direct comparison, because what you could do is say, well, let's find the price of 60 pence and let's find the price of 60 pence. And what I've thought about there is the idea of thinking, well, I could find a common multiple and go up. And then from there, I can compare the price of 60 pence and see it that way. But of course, we're talking unitary ratio, and because we're talking unitary ratio, then they would expect you to go down as opposed to up. But like I said, there's no right or wrong necessarily with this. It's just asking you to figure out what the better value is. So I need to get the number of pence equal, whether I go up or down is irrelevant. All right, but ultimately it's going to go down to find the one pen. Right. So if I put 5 to £1.40 and 12 to £3.40, and then we go down to 1, so divide this side by 5, which gives me 1 to 0.28, so it's 28p per pen. And then when I divide these both by 12, and then it's going to give me 0.2833. So hopefully you can see, well, this one is 28p, and this is just over 28p. So the better value is the 5 pence for £1.40. All right, doing it that way around. Okay. So that's the kind of purpose of unitary ratio, essentially. But of course, if you think you need practice, then get yourself to maths-school.co.uk and have a go at some of the questions that are on there. Thanks for listening.